Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Still Untitled. I want to thank our sponsor this week, who is 3D Robotics. 3DR is America's largest drone maker. Their Solo Smart Drone is the first drone optimized for your GoPro. Get live HD video straight to your mobile screen as you're flying the quadcopter. Solo's computers also guide it smoothly and automatically, so you get cinematic shots you want. Push play and the Solo does it all. It could even follow you. 3DR gives a Solo away every month to one of their email subscribers, so sign up for that today and learn more about drones at 3dr.com/Still Untitled. Just the name of this podcast. That's 3dr.com/Still Untitled. Now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Gentlemen.
Wow, we rolled right into it.
We did.
I think we should skip the preamble this week.
Okay.
Something big happened.
Something big.
Two things big happened in the last week.
What do you got?
Well, the series finale for MythBusters after, 14 and a half seasons?
Well, I've been filming MythBusters since the summer of 2002. So for me, it's 14
Holy cow.
years. And the last ever new episode of MythBusters aired Saturday night.
Until Netflix comes in 3 years, puts the whole team together, and you do another 6 episodes, and they release them all on a Sunday
I guess
night.
never say never, but that would strike me as unlikely.
Okay.
Wow. And it was over the weekend, there were 3 new episodes. It was
3
the
new episodes,
finale.
yes.
There was a reunion special and then also a never before seen duct tape special.
So the finale aired at 8 p.m. and that was the last episode. Then Cary Grant and Tori came back so that the 5 of us could sit at a round table and talk about some of our favorite memories. That aired at 9 o'clock on Saturday. And then Sunday on the new home of MythBusters, the Science Channel, they aired a duct tape special, which we recorded this year. Specifically for Science Channel, because that's where MythBusters is going to live from here on in.
Wow.
And it's very cool. It's a great episode. We decided to, Jamie and I had basically decided there's nothing we can build out of duct tape that we haven't built, nothing that we're interested in building. And then I was driving and I was thinking, what if we made a trebuchet out of duct tape and using only duct tape and wood?
Trebuchets were always fun.
But specifically engineering so that there was no attachment method but wood and duct tape.
So you're doing lashings and all that stuff?
Lots and
all
lots
your
and
Boy Scout
lots of
skills?
lashing. I think we used 70 or 80 rolls. I can't quite remember the number.
That's less than I would expect.
It's what Marco Polo introduced to Kublai Khan in his invasion of China. Also a Netflix show, the trebuchet. It's no basis on reality.
It was, everyone was... the number of wonderful encomiums and sweet well wishes from fans and friends alike all weekend long was really moving.
I thought that just the stuff that you showed, the clips that you showed during the after show, the reunion was incredible, right? I mean, it was astronauts and presidents and Neil deGrasse Tyson and it was fantastic.
Jim Cameron.
Yeah.
So there seems to be 2
Lucy
things
Lawless.
that I want to talk about for this. One, a little behind the scenes on the big things that you guys pulled off in the finale.
Okay.
And then also your experience of watching the finale, because I know you guys had a big party and got together. We can go in either order.
So the watching, we had a party at a bar in San Francisco. I can't remember what it's called, Fromage or
A cheese bar.
Jeopardy or something.
Okay.
I can't remember. I really
Was it someplace you
dumb.
could get fancy toast?
I'm terrible that I can't remember the name of this bar.
It's okay.
Anyway, we had a lovely party, and the party was mostly for fans and for friends of MythBusters. Carrie and Jamie and I were in residence, but it was for a lot of the people we've worked with over the years, people who manage the sites that we've worked on, cops and bomb technicians, and people that have been critical to MythBusters' success over the years, as well as a lot of old staff members. So it was like a reunion, and that was awesome.
One of the things that amazed me when we first started working with you is that basically when Norm and I would have a dumb idea to do something, we'd be like, hey, do you know anybody who knows how to do this X weird, random, esoteric thing? You'd be like, oh yeah, sure. Call somebody over at M5 and they'll give you 2 names you can call and one of them will be able to help you out.
Right.
And like that, like it's unusual to have access to that kind of door.
It's
right?
an institutional knowledge that we
Yeah.
built over the years. That's incredible. And I had already watched the finale because I live tweeted the East Coast feed.
Yeah, from here.
From here, yeah. And it was I've never had this on Twitter. Often when we're doing this, I'm sitting next to Kristen, my social person, and I'm finding tweets and responding to them. She's finding tweets and giving them to me to respond to. We were trending so much that I would go to reload just every 5 seconds. And it was like hundreds of tweets every few seconds. It was astounding, the deluge. And I mean, people were making cakes. MythBuster last episode.
Did it explode at the end?
I have no idea. But really, the fans turned out to celebrate it in their way, and it was amazing. I've personally gone through. We've talked about this on the podcast before. The catharsis of ending something so long. I've personally already passed through a lot of that, so I wasn't feeling very elegiac this weekend. You know, it was mostly just really glad to be able to tweet it to the fans and talk to my old friends and old staff members and really sort of get to feel what the wonderful thing that we built was.
It's almost like a reunion more than a funeral.
Exactly.
And you talked about those feelings in the episode itself, in the stunt where you drove through all the props over the 14 years.
Yeah, that when I get choked up, that's genuine. That was the thing.
That was one of those days after that we saw you immediately after you did that. You came in and you were legitimately like, I mean, and Norm and I have both worked places for a really long time and left, but it's not quite the same, I think, as a small, crazy tight team that made the amount of TV and stuff that you did. I mean, it was really neat. I thought actually all three parts of that, because you had basically the huge explosion with
four parts. We blew up an RV at 50,000 frames per second. Then we destroyed Buster. We sent Buster to a better place. Mm-hmm. I've got some chunks of him around here somewhere.
It looked like he hit so hard he caught on fire.
That was amazing.
Yeah, all of those stunts were incredible. I want to go through kind of each of those.
Yeah. So just to recap, then we drove through a mile's worth of MythBuster props, and then we blew up a cement truck with more explosives than we've ever used before.
Wow. So the first one, which was blowing up the RV.
Yeah.
You explained why you use an RV, and kind of you're also demonstrating recording an explosion at 50,000 frames per second.
Yeah. So the digital camera, high-speed digital cameras have come of age alongside of MythBusters, and Phantom, the preeminent maker of them and supplier of MythBusters cameras, now has a camera that can do HD at 50,000 frames per second.
Like even 3 years ago, that would have been insane.
And that's an important point, because there were cameras. There's also older cameras could do lower resolution at very high frames per second. Scientific equipment, for example, if all you need are to measure a few pixels wide.
Well, and that's the thing is when they say, "Oh, it's got a maximum of 500,000 frames per second," that means it's like 12 by 30 pixels.
It means basically you need something that's going to flash the entire field of view in order to see what happens.
Which is fine for science, for research.
Absolutely.
Because if you just need to study the distance between something, for television, it's different. And in filming high speed, you find that there's like a perfect speed to demonstrate different things. Like you don't need 10,000 FPS for a lot of things.
No, someone gets smacked in the kisser, you don't need more than 250 frames.
Exactly. You can do that on your iPhone.
An iPhone can do that, absolutely. But explosions.
You absolutely, and so we've filmed thousands of explosions. We've filmed thousands of them on the high-speed camera, and mostly between 1,000 and about 6,000 frames per second. I think 5,500 is the max HD in sunlight that we can get out of the main Phantom we've been using the last few years. Mm-hmm. At 50,000 frames per second, there was a couple of things that were super notable. One was that you got to watch the impetus of the explosion for many frames. You got to watch the inside of this RV light up.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we chose the RV is because we didn't want to choose a giant, substantial truck like the cement truck, because that was always going to be our finale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we decided lightweight RV, and we'll use that. But you got to watch it light up from the inside. And just as a note, that was the same amount of explosives we used to dispose of the first cement truck, 850 pounds of ammo.
Yeah.
The second thing that was really notable at 50,000 frames per second was we had 10 times the amount of frames, and you got to watch the blast wave bubble assemble itself. It was like triangular at first, and then it became spherical.
That was the incredible, like that, and the lensing that you got around the edge of it was like my wife, who is a fan of things that explode, but not at the same level that I think all the three of us are, was like, okay, I'm usually unimpressed. That is gorgeous. Like the shot of that,
The wide shot.
with the wide shot of that, with the spherical lensing, it was unbelievable.
So the best way to describe what that lensing really is in the same way that light moves differently through a fish tank than it moves through water. It moves differently through denser mediums. That bubble moving outward from the explosion is a denser medium of air compressed by the explosion. And so you're watching that denser air move the light in slightly different fashion and thus lensing it. It's phenomenal. I've never seen anything like that.
There's a distinct barrier.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there was a line. Yeah.
And that line, if it moves through you, it's
You would
bad.
feel it.
You wouldn't feel it, Norm. Well, you'd feel it really quickly.
There'd be this, and then you're jelly. Because what it will do is it will accelerate all the cells in your body at about 20,000 feet per second, but just the tiniest fraction of an inch.
Yeah.
But it'll tear apart all the connective whatever inside of you and just turn you to a bag full of jelly, which arguably we already are, but
more so.
More so.
Why do you guys use ANFO for that kind of stuff? Because it's
we use ANFO is cheap and it's a nice slow explosive. Nice and slow. I'm sorry. I think ANFO is, people will correct me. High explosives like plastic explosives or cast boosters, those move at like 22 to 25,000 feet per second. The ANFO, it's slower. I think like 16,000 feet per second. Again, I'm trying to remember these numbers.
Yeah.
I just know it's not like half the speed, but ANFO is meant for pushing. It's used in mining for like pushing giant chunks of a mountain off of it.
Okay.
Whereas the high-speed explosives are used for cracking and splitting things.
And all these considerations from the camera to the type of explosives and what you're blowing up all work toward the video, all to what you're demonstrating and what you're showing for the television.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Like there's an incredible cinematography aspect to it.
Absolutely. And that was really, really key that took most of the negotiating on the day. And I don't mean negotiating with New Mexico Tech, but really just sort of making sure that all of the departments that we're dealing with, and it was dozens of people, and New Mexico Tech University was amazing with us, but they have a protocol and they have to make sure everyone's safe. And we've got cameras. They can only roll for a certain amount of time. They're like spread out over about a mile. A mile in diameter of cameras. Plus there's drones in the air. So people need to be outside. There's lockdowns. It was an incredible amount of infrastructure just to push the button.
Okay. So you mentioned the drones.
Yeah.
Was the drone shot on that one, or was it the cement mixer, or was it both?
We had both. We had drones in the air for everything.
The one that was a really, really high shot shooting straight down on it.
Yeah, I know.
Looked like it was 5,000, 10,000 feet or something. It was
I don't
really
think it was
high.
5,000 feet. We got some, I don't think it was more than 1,000 feet, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
but
right.
honestly, you'd have to ask Duncan.
Okay.
I can't quite remember.
Wide angle lenses.
Yeah, it was.
And that was also, that was really tricky because we had 22 minutes out of the Inspire.
Yeah.
Right? Or 20 minutes out of the Inspire. It's like, that is the last thing that goes up.
This is the cool behind the scenes, the logistics of it. And I know you guys had an episode about how an episode is made. A lot of that's the pre-planning. Just a day of the pressing of all the cameras, the setting up.
Well, and there's lots of decisions to be made. So they'll say, you can't put a camera there. And then
meaning New Mexico Tech.
New Mexico Tech will say, we can't put a camera there. It's not safe. We have to have you over here. We only have 2 miles of cord to go over there. And so then all of this has to be worked out by all of us, right? So narratively, what's important to me to see out of this? What are the 3 key shots I want? They can get all these other shots that they want, but I've got a couple I want on my list. Okay, so we can't get one of mine. How are we going to get something similar to it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all of this back and forth. Okay, turns out we can't get this up until then. What do we do about this and that?
I have a mechanics question about the high speed. When you shoot a high speed, probably people don't know this. It's not like shooting a normal camera usually. You either have a pre, a post, or a mid trigger set for it. And that means that somebody literally needs to hit the button within X number of seconds after the thing goes. I assume on a 50,000 frame per second camera, you have what, maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute?
I don't know if it's 20 seconds. I think it's like 12 or 14.
Yeah, so it's not very many.
It's not very many. You got to get it.
Yeah, and if you miss it,
you're screwed.
You've missed the whole thing.
Automate it. You can have it be sound trigger, light trigger.
And New Mexico Tech has their own triggers for high-speed cameras as well. And so we were using some of their technology. Again, we should probably bring Duncan on to talk about this because Duncan and Saws managed all of this stuff, and it's a tremendous amount.
But I assume
Duncan, Saws, and Will.
You had a really not me.
Sorry.
Just to be clear.
Will Nail, Duncan Clark, and Scott Sorensen are the 3 cameramen for MythBusters for the last few years.
I assume they had a really long cord and somebody was sitting there with their finger on the button.
Many long cords. And I mean, they actually had ways to route them under the ground. New Mexico Tech is very well set up for
so
that.
what's you guys were in an actual bunker for this?
We were underground, yes.
Can you describe that a little bit or not so much?
It's basically under a mountain of dirt. It's a concrete bunker. It feels like The Last Stand from the zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
It's hilarious. The explosion was far enough away. I think we were about 2 kilometers from the explosion in that bunker. So we didn't feel it very significantly. A couple of days before that final explosion, we had filmed the Jamie flattening the car explosion. And that one we felt. That one cleared all the air out of, it moved all the air inside our bunker.
Just because it was slamming straight down to the ground?
It was only a few hundred feet away.
Okay.
That same explosion, the flattening of the car, destroyed 3 of our rental cars in one shot.
Oh, that was the one that fired the shrapnel. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you guys get the full coverage when you get rental cars, I guess?
We do. I just love the idea of the guy in the shop looking at this dent from above and going, "What did you do?"
Walk away insurance.
The back half of the van that got ripped off was the one that I thought was entertaining.
And
okay.
so let's go to Buster.
Yeah, so Buster next, and that was at the rocket sled.
That was the rocket sled. It seems so obvious now. It seems so right. Strap Buster to a rocket sled, send him into a wall. But there was a lot of back and forth about different things we could do to destroy Buster, to send him away, et cetera. And in the end, the superhero suit, which was designed by my producer, Eric Haven, who's a comic book author. He's got a graphic novel coming out soon. We'll cover it on Tested. It's going to be great. Eric designed that suit. We had 2 made, one for Buster, one for me for that piece to camera with the phone booth.
Oh, wasn't
pretty
the same
magical.
One. Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah.
And then
you've really bulked up since you.
I will tell you that I missed this great opportunity. So you know that I love punning on MythBusters, and I'll tell you easily half of my puns and most of the good ones came from my sound man, Matt Jepson. Maddie's been with the show for forever, and Maddie's just got the worst punning brain ever. And by worst, I mean best.
Bad people.
So Maddie often has these jokes at the last minute that's just freaking fantastic. And the one he gave me, which I totally forgot, which was to fist bump Buster. His fist is sticking out there, and I totally
you left him hanging, bro.
Totally left him hanging.
Oh, poor Buster.
We really didn't ever find the main chunks of Buster. We found lots of little pieces, which became crew gifts.
So do you know what happened? Like, did he hit fast enough that the energy just lit him on fire?
That's what it looks like. It looks like the metal of Buster's body hit the concrete so hard that there was fire and sparks involved, which is astounding.
Wow.
The shot I love the most is also the drone shot for that one, when you see the other side of the wall.
Right.
Yeah. How much debris goes into the hill.
And then I had painted the target with 2002, 2016, and he left a hole with a year on either side. I was like, if you had told me you wanted that, I would have been like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. The only way you could have improved that is if he left the Bugs Bunny shaped hole in the wall.
Which
come on.
My friend Ben was saying the other day, I can't believe you never tested that myth. And I'm like, yeah, it's right up there with, does a frying pan adhere to the shape of your head when someone hits you really hard?
I have often thought a Looney Tunes episode would have been amazing. So, okay, so Buster meets his mortal demise.
Yeah, then there is the drive down memory lane.
Oh, boy. And the mile long.
The mile long. It was amazing.
Is this the same place where the Alameda swap meet?
Yeah, that's the Alameda runway.
Okay.
So that's where Tesla's been testing their autonomous car. It's where the
car chase in the Matrix was, right?
That's where all the car chases
fake freeway and all that.
Films. Yep. Yeah. And so we've filmed there hundreds of times over the years on MythBusters, and that was the last shoot. It was beautiful.
I didn't know that was the last one. That's good.
That was the last time we filmed there, and I can barely describe to you how much work the crew put into assembling all that stuff.
Right, because it's not like they were just ready in M5 to dig out.
No. In fact, most of the time they were making a lot of that stuff from scratch in bulk. And so we hired extra people. Old friends of mine from ILM came down and worked for us. And it was just weeks and weeks of poor Tory Fink, our main shop guy, and his team just assembling this stuff and putting it together, painting, cutting out mannequins, duct tape bows, asking for solutions. So I was on tour during some of that. Was I on tour? I can't remember where I was. I was somewhere where I was like literally dipping in constantly to put out fires and give them simple solutions for putting stuff together. But it was the most monumental effort on behalf of the crew.
Because for some, you have a whole series of things, 200 objects or so.
Right.
They all get a fraction of the time on camera. You know, the car is going to get a lot of camera time.
Yeah.
But little things, all that matters.
How did you get that stuff over there? Was it just a couple of trucks?
Trucks.
Just
Yeah.
constant ferrying back and forth.
Yeah. There was like a full week and a half of moving stuff.
And
over
it took I assume it took at least a couple of days to set it all up.
Oh God. Yeah. Days and days.
So you had to hope for no rain and
Yeah. All
wow.
that.
And you say it on camera, but the drive was, it was difficult to stay straight.
I couldn't see. 20 seconds in, I stopped being able to see out the front of the car.
And it took how long? About a minute?
About 55 seconds.
Yeah.
So most of the drive, I can't see.
Were you getting radio directions a little bit right? No?
I can see my camera. I can see one of my camera cars.
Okay.
And I can extrapolate my space from the fact that I'm still hitting things.
Yeah.
I'm airing towards the camera car that I can see because that means I can avoid it.
Yeah.
I don't want to air towards the camera car I can't see on my right because I don't want to hurt him. Now, that's being driven by a professional cop training driver, Brian. So I know he knows enough to stay safe. But again, I'm in the 60,000-pound vehicle.
Yeah.
I want to keep it away from everybody. So I'm using touch, I'm using sight, and we put up street signs that had each year on them. And I'm using those to gauge my direction.
Gotcha.
I said this to you guys on the podcast right afterwards. It was without a doubt the best driving I've ever done in my professional life.
Did you guys put the last couple of vans in the funnel on purpose, or was that just a happy accident?
It wasn't that we didn't put them in that orientation to funnel me towards the Impala. We did that because we weren't sure how much impetus I would have, and we didn't want them to stop me. So that was a compromise that Steve Christensen, my director, and I came up with at the very end. We moved them. It was really fun using a forklift on cars I didn't care about.
Oh my God, I can only imagine. Between that and when you did the vacuum lifter and then just dropped it from 60 feet or whatever, how much fun?
The best.
Wow.
I had a question about this and I've completely spaced on it, but did you add extra weight to the truck?
We did.
I mean, aside from the obvious.
We did. Jamie designed the front fin, and we put in an extra, I think, like 10,000 pounds on the backside to balance it.
Okay.
So that even when it hits stuff, it wouldn't dig into the ground. It would have some counterweight to it. And we also wanted the truck to have a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
So we rented trench plates. Again, those giant steel plates they used to cover construction in the road. We rented a bunch of those and just welded them in place in the back. This is the great thing about trench plates is you can weld them.
Yeah, they don't
and then
care.
grind the welds, and as long as it's still a piece of steel, they don't care.
Low center of gravity and just a lot of momentum at 50 miles per
14
hour.
speeds. You know,
Were you having a shift during the run? Were you downshifting?
At one point it kicked itself out of gear 70% of the way in, and I downshifted back to 7th and back into 8th gear to get the last bit.
Wow.
There's so
Yeah, people just look at
so
the
much.
destruction.
Also understand that at the same time as I'm doing this, I'm still performing for the camera. I'm still trying to explain to the camera what's going on.
Hold on. I gotta say, when you hit the first one and said "fucking A," I do not think that was a performance, sir.
No. And that last bit where I'm in the car and I'm just going, ah, and I'm screaming completely. That is the greatest endorphin rush I've experienced in a long time.
Okay, so here's my question. This is another question for my wife. She wanted to know what happens. Like, do you guys have to spend then 3 days coming back and cleaning all that stuff up? Do you bring in street sweepers?
We had all of the above.
Okay.
We had a large, so all the cars that we had hit had their fluids removed. Alameda has very particular requirements for leaving the runway as we found it, and we've had a great relationship with them over the years. So it was picking up the big stuff, then sweeping up the small stuff, street sweepers, road cleaners, making sure that no other toxic fluids were left.
And off on the sides as well.
Everything.
No trace.
Same thing for the explosions?
And that's actually largely under the aegis of New Mexico Tech. So they have their protocols, and I wasn't party to that stuff because we were already back home by the time we were done.
Now, some of the stuff you ran through still exists, and you kept a few as mementos.
Yeah. I actually have I have a couple of chunks here of some things.
The piano.
I took the mechanics out of the piano because I wanted to hear them. I didn't want the mechanics to dampen them. I have the mechanics to the piano here.
The shark.
I have the head of the shark mounted over next to the other hammerhead shark in the main shop.
Yep.
Now, what people also will notice when they watch the episode is you have two cars, one from on either side of you. And one of the cars is a really interesting car because it's a camera car, chase car.
Oh, yeah.
That Saw's built.
And we should
we already have one that's I think will be up tomorrow.
Oh, excellent!
Pending approval from people who own the footage.
So Saws. Australians give everyone nicknames with Z's in them. So if you're Eric, an Aussie might call you Ezza, and Scott Sorensen immediately got the nickname Sawza and became Sawza. His own girlfriend calls him Sawza. So Saws. Yeah, that's what we say. Short for Sawza.
He was on Octobercast. He came on Octobercast the first year we worked with you guys.
So Scott bought one of the Chevy Impalas. Yeah. No,
it's an
not
old
Chevy
cop car.
Impala. Sorry,
A Caprice.
Chevy Caprice.
Yeah.
That we used in one of our cop car episodes. This one was in particularly okay shape, and he's been fixing it up and turning it into a camera platform vehicle. With what you saw was he was off to my right. This large metal framework on the back of his car. This allowed him to basically dolly up a remote camera from inside the car at the same time as he's filming out the window.
And he had a three-axis gimbal on that, so you could control it and actually like get some elevation. I think up to 8 feet or so. It's pretty neat. And so we got this right.
I also just want to point out that Saws did that all on his own time at the same time as he's filming MythBusters, like 60 hours a week. So he's in on weekends welding and machining, and he worked with Bimba, donated a bunch of the technology and the design work for that rig, and he's machining giant plates of aluminum and steel to their specs. It was a lot of work, and it worked magnificently.
He's been incredibly giving of his time over the years. Like when we wanted to find out about blowing stuff up with black powder, he said, "Come into the shop one Saturday morning," and we came into the shop, and he sufficiently convinced us that we shouldn't dick around with black powder. That we just were like, "No, we'll just do something safe, like explode an airbag."
Yes, terrifying.
So let's
the finale.
the last one,
the finale,
the last explosion, the big one, the cement truck,
5,001 pounds.
Was the previous record 5,000 pounds?
5,000 pounds of high-speed explosives that Cary Grant and Tori used at New Mexico Tech a few years ago to make diamonds.
Oh, okay.
The high pressure helping to create diamonds. So we used 5,001 pounds.
Okay.
We could have used 5,004, but we seemed
that seems right.
Price is right. Yeah. Totally. We got a cement truck, and I mean, what can I tell you? It was so epic. I mean, every single shot is a revelation. Every single shot seems to show a different explosion. It illuminates something different about how powerful that blast was. And the thing that's really hard to communicate is when you head back to the center of the former blast, it looks like a moonscape. Because there's no footprints, there's no vegetation anymore. It is just things that have fallen from the sky. It's like sandy and it really looks like another world. It looks like another planet.
Everything that's loose has been blown away.
Yeah,
except for what went straight up and came straight back down.
Exactly.
That one left a crater.
It did.
That's unusual,
4
right?
feet deep. We've made a bunch of craters, but none that big. This was about probably 15 feet and 20 feet in diameter and about 5-6 feet deep.
And what did you find? You found pieces of the truck, I assume.
Many pieces of the truck,
but pretty good sized chunks.
I think the biggest chunk we found was like 50 pounds, right? So it just tore that thing to absolute shreds.
Why do you guys use cement trucks for the big ones?
It's just started because of the first episode when we blew up a cement truck we were testing to see there was a myth that you could clean out a cement truck with a stick of dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that to loosen the cement on the inside if it had hardened inside the cement truck. And then that became a fan favorite.
Okay.
Even though we didn't have a high-speed shot of it. So we thought the fact that we didn't have a high-speed shot and it's a fan favorite, let's finish with that and give it an amazing high-speed shot. That high-speed shot was also at 50,000 frames per second.
Okay, I was going to say, we could see the lensing on that one too.
Yeah, totally. It was amazing.
It was pretty incredible. I was a little disappointed when the explosion went off. You showed all the replay shots of the explosion, and then the credits rolled. And I was like, oh man, they went out with a bang. That's amazing. And then you cut back because you had to look at the crater, and the crater was cool. But
We saved the coda of the codas of the codas. We saved the last coda for the end of the reunion episode.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you watched it.
Oh no,
yet.
Mike
Yeah.
TiVo cut out before I got to the
Oh.
end.
Yes, it was the Avengers homage.
Oh no, I did see
We
that.
sat eating shawarmas in the exact pose
It's
of the Avengers.
what venue? What place was that?
That
'Cause
was-
it was a sweeper.
You green screened it in.
That was Oscar's. That was Oscar's. Well, it was Oscar's Deli on Cesar Chavez at Missouri, which is right
man,
where
it
we
looked
were filming.
perfect.
Just like it.
Yeah, no, it was
Perfectly framed.
absolutely amazing.
And
That was one of my producers. Yvette is the one sweeping up in the background.
Okay.
And you had Tori with a hand over
Yeah.
the mouth,
covering
which
his
is
beard.
Like Chris.
covering over the beard that Chris
Right.
Evans had to do. Yeah, it was
really,
wonderful.
it was really fun. And sorry, just to finish out this amazing week, the other thing that happened was I went and did Colbert.
Hold on,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
You took your pants off on Colbert.
I did. Why? Look, when Stephen Colbert asks you to take your pants off, you say yes.
he seemed way less into it.
Oh no.
Sorry.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it was good.
So I flew in on Sunday. I rehearsed over at Sullivan Theater on Monday. They had a big day on Tuesday because their cold open was in conjunction with the Fiddler on the Roof cast. So Monday I just spent a couple of hours over there working with their people. Nicest crew in the world. And some of them had been part of the crew when Jamie and I first flew balloons outside on 53rd Street for Letterman in 2004. Yeah, it was amazing. And many of them were there when I did Letterman the last time. Many of them I knew from The Late Show. Many of the writers. So it was great to see everybody. And it's a really lovely set. Like everyone loves working there.
Oh, yeah.
Loves working on that show. Stephen couldn't be nicer.
What's the when you go in to do a segment like that? Do you come in with a bit and then kind of sit down with the writers and work through it? And
It's
see?
definitely not day of.
No. There's always a lot of back and forth. So, they asked for a bunch of ideas. I threw a few at them. They threw a few back at me. We honed it down. We came up with something that got thrown out. We came up with something else. I think that got thrown out. And then Friday before, so this is a week ago Friday, they decided they wanted to shoot me with the penny going at the terminal velocity of a penny.
It's a very New York kind of segment.
And it also was one of the very earliest episodes we did, and one in which I really learned deeply that one of the things I could contribute to this show was figuring out unique ways of showing something rather than telling. Right. And Penny Drop is like one of those first worms to turn for me. So I built that gun here in the shop on Friday. The day I was I was sick,
Yeah,
so I was we had a build scheduled that day, and I canceled it so I could rest because I was sick.
And then you didn't rest.
And then I didn't rest.
That
I
seems
spent
about
like
right.
7 hours here making that gun. And then I got it home only to discover that it didn't fit in my suitcase. So I had to cut 5 inches off of it. And then I called Tom Sachs, whose studio is in New York. And I was like, dude, can you get me a 3-inch PVC Schedule 40 pipe cap plus some glue? And he's like, I'm on it. So when I landed on Sunday, I went to his shop and he's there making some pottery with some friends. And he's got his bodega going. And it was awesome.
It's like an Avengers of...
We spent a few hours putting my gun together, and then he shot me with it. He said, does it hurt? And I said, it just hurts enough to be funny. So we're good to go. And then I brought that over to The Late Show. They shipped it back to me. I think it actually should be at my house now.
Okay. Did anybody else want to get shot while you were there? Did the writers' room guys volunteer?
This is network television, man. They were itchy about me being shot with the thing that I had built. So it required a lot of safety discussions. It's when you make something that shoots something, you are dealing with the law in some very specific ways because things can get dangerous in a hurry. And you don't just. Luckily, I have a lot of expertise, so I can talk deeply to exactly how fast it's going, how much pressure is involved, what are the margins of safety, et cetera.
Yeah, they should do an episode like the South Park guys did about making of an episode,
right?
And document that. I mean, I know it's been on TV, like Larry Sanders' show and stuff like that, kind of give you an impression, but it's a whole.
I love learning about that
and
stuff.
Jim Fife, the producer that I was working with, was so like everyone was amazing, but just like willing to try stuff. Okay, do you want to get shot in the ass? Do you want your pants up? I was thinking about having my pants up. Okay, would you be willing if we got you some like pink Spanx or something? You willing? And then on the day of, he's like, so we're talking about it, and if we can get permission, how do you feel about just dropping trial for real? And I'm like, I'll do it.
Wow, they worked you.
Yeah.
The
They didn't have to work me. I didn't need to be eased.
I mean,
into
just
it.
to be
I'll
clear,
just do it.
yeah.
I'm ready. I've already been.
I've never
naked
met
on
anybody more
national
game.
television.
Yeah.
But that's their operating procedure. I can imagine it. They warm you up to the idea, and then on day of, when you.
I mean, it's much less humiliating to actually just take your pants off than to wear the pink Spanx, I think.
I feel like it would be. And then so we posted they blurred it on television,
Yes.
but I got the shot unblurred and we posted that.
Nice.
It was
Nice.
lovely.
But it sounded like a lot of fun. And the bit was really funny.
It was great.
Always good.
Stephen is such a fan and such a deep fan. He's watched the show for years with his family and super complimentary about the achievement. They just finished their 100th episode of The Late Show. So, I mean, he had to deal with, and we didn't even get to talking about this, but he had the thing to deal with of ending the Colbert Report and no time to kind of acclimatize because you're already into the Late Show. That would be very intense.
Well, and on top of that, like he had the whole, is this the performance or is this not the performance? And
all that stuff to figure out.
Identity.
And find.
Yeah.
It's again, it couldn't happen to a nicer team. I'll go on and do that show as many times as they want. It was great.
Awesome.
Ooh, awesome.
Until
then, you can find more of Adam Untested. Yeah.
Norman, you ever considered shooting things in Adam?
Yes.
At all?
No need to ease me into that either.
Okay.
I was at dinner
Ready to
with
go?
someone last night who was like, wait a minute, he put a penny in your anus? And I'm like, okay, no, you're way over extrapolating it. He just shot me in the butt. On the
your
butt.
butt.
On the cheek.
30 degrees to the right, guys. And on that, I think we should probably
Put
wrap
another
this
nickel
up.
in.
No.
Nickelodeon.
This is for kids. This is a show for kids.
Well,
Norm,
congratulations,
yeah.
Adam.
Thank you.
On a
Thank
successful
you.
finale.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And send Adam tweets and well wishes, and we have a lot more stuff going on. Again, wait for that video to go behind the scenes of the chase car that Saw's built. So that's gonna be really cool.
it's really cool.
Cool.
And that'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye, guys.